Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing the K-3, CR-1, and IR-1 visas. These are U.S. marriage visas. We're specifically discussing these in the context of consular and proxy marriage. Now, what are we talking about here? Let's go through this. Consular marriage is this can happen actually through the Thai embassy abroad. It is possible for two Thai nationals to marry one another at a consulate outside of Thailand and for that marriage to be considered legally binding and valid in the Kingdom of Thailand. Now, there have been cases adjudicated, not specifically on Thailand to the best of my knowledge, but under similar circumstances. I believe the controlling case involves Pakistan, where a couple was married at a consulate of Pakistan in a foreign country, and that marriage was then utilized as the basis for filing for immigration benefits. Ultimately, it was adjudicated that that consular marriage was not a sufficient basis for a marriage visa because the marriage itself did not actually occur in a jurisdiction wherein the marriage itself was legal. So this is a consulate in another country where the marriage is occurring. Well, okay, the consular marriage may work for the Thais, but for American immigration purposes, I'm just using the Thais as an example here. For American immigration purposes, that marriage needs to be legal in that jurisdiction, not in the consulate that's in that jurisdiction, in the jurisdiction as a whole. So if it's not a legal marriage in the rest of the jurisdiction, then for purposes of U.S. immigration, it's not going to be considered a valid marriage. Now we get to the issue of what's called proxy marriage. So this is marriage where you may be separated from your spouse, or the two spouses may be separated from the jurisdiction physically that's actually issuing the marriage license. So these proxy marriages occur in many of the western states. Montana, the Dakotas, I believe, do this. In fact, my home state of Kansas has something akin to this so-called proxy marriage, where you can actually get a marriage license and be considered legally married in one of the states of the United States. And for purposes of immigration, it might work. Now, the issue during COVID that came up with respect to proxy marriage was the issue of what's called consummation. And that is, you have to basically have physically met, and we all know what consummation means, but the issue legally is basically a physical meeting requirement in order to meet the consummation requirement associated with proxy marriage so that that marriage can be considered the legal basis of filing for a marriage visa, such as a K-3 visa, CR-1 visa, or an IR-1 visa. So again, proxy marriage is possible. Now that COVID restrictions are lifted, proxy marriage is becoming kind of a go-to for certain categories of folks. Again, it's a good idea before making any irrevocable movements with respect to legal status or immigration status. Again, with regard to marriage or immigration, it's probably a good idea to contact a legal professional, gain some insight and guidance into how best to proceed.